Hey, welcome to Dana's Movie Nights. Today I'm going to be talking about one of my absolute favorite science fiction films of all time. It's also one of the earliest James Cameron movies, and it's also probably the movie that really made Arnold Schwarzenegger as famous as he is today. Now he's known as the Governator. It is, of course, the original, The Terminator. The very first Terminator movie. This was released in 1984. If you don't know, this movie actually spawned a franchise. Terminator 2, the sequel, came out in 1990. Many say that's even better than this one. I don't personally agree with that. Terminator 3, which wasn't very good, and Terminator Salvation, which was horrible, and Terminator Genesis, which I didn't even bother seeing. But this one, it really is, I think, a masterpiece and one of the best science fiction movies of all time. And the reason why, well, there's a few reasons. One of that is because I feel like the budget at the time, James Cameron was an unknown director at the time, so he didn't have a high budget, but he was really able to make the most of it, and in doing so, really proved that less can be more. Like, this movie really does have a lot of tension in it. It feels sort of like a horror slasher movie at times, but with a robot, or a cyborg, if you will. Now, the movie stars Arnold Schwarzenegger, of course, as the titular Terminator, who's a cyborg that's been sent back in time to kill Sarah Connor, who's played by Linda Hamilton. Because Linda Hamilton doesn't know it yet, but she's the mother of a future warrior who's going to fight against the evil sort of robot cyborg armies in the future and basically try to change things. And he wants to kill Sarah Connor, basically, so that John Connor, her son, is never born and never does all these heroic things. Now, Michael Biehn plays Kyle Reese, who is also sent back in time in order to save Sarah Connor. And throughout the film, most of the movie really is sort of a one long chase scene. But it starts out, where the Arnold's character is finding everyone named Sarah Connor and dispatching of them, and eventually Sarah Connor, the one actually being chased, finds out that she's being hunted and tries to contact the police, ends up partnering with Kyle Reese, initially against her wishes. She thinks he's a madman, even though he's like completely hell-bent on making sure everyone knows that no, he's not crazy, he did come back in time. There's a lot of really exciting and also very tense chase scenes and action scenes in this movie. Part of that is due to the fact that the budget was so low that they really didn't make the most of actual practical effects and really actual character-driven moments. A lot of the story of what's going on is actually told in the middle of all these really high, intense moments, which I think is one of the reasons why this movie is as good as it is. And I know a lot of people make fun of Arnold Schwarzenegger's acting and his voice, and there is a lot to make fun of, but in this movie, he really is, I think, a very good physical actor. Sure, he doesn't really say all that much, but, he is generally, scary at times. He's just this badass sort of cyborg who's running around, and you don't want to mess with this guy. You see from his very first scene that he's not to be trifled with, and he really did, I think, pull off a really great, just sort of physical performance. Even though he doesn't talk very much, I think the Governator really did shine as playing a cyborg. Just the way he carries himself, he feels robotic, and yet at the same time, the way he carries weapons and the way he uses them, and just everything about him, it feels generally scary. And the other actors were also fairly unknown, but they also did a good job, I think. All in all, I just loved this movie, and going back and watching it again reminded me of why I like it so much. I definitely think it's the best in the series. Although I do like the second one, I don't think it's as good as the first one, although I know many disagree. If you've never seen any of the Terminators, definitely check the first one out. And if you're so inclined, see the second. Definitely don't start with the newer ones, they're not very good. But this one is very much worth seeing, and I just wanted to talk about that and share my thoughts on the Terminator. Thank you so much for watching my video, and until next time, I'll be back.